All right, hello, welcome along to the Left Wing Back County Final Special in Carlow this weekend. I'm joined by all the representatives from the various clubs. We have Ciaran Bolger from Burren Rangers, Nolan from Ballinkillen, Damien from Naomh, and James Hickey of Leinster Rangers, who of course is over Carlow this year as well. Lads, great to have you all here. I'm going to start with the bigger picture here, and this really is Burren Rangers in a county final. Mighty stuff altogether. Ciaran Bolger, talk to us about the excitement during the week. You're only in existence, less than a decade, so this is massive.
Yeah, in existence in terms of juvenile hurling camogie, 2009. So it's 11 years. And the adult side, the men's anyway, we started in 2015. So it is a great achievement, coming from there. But I mean, the decision to go adult in 2015 wasn't easy. And I suppose we've taken our fair share of beatings since 2015. We've been to two other semi-finals prior to last weekend. So to get to a final, it's a culmination of a huge amount of effort from coaches, parents, boys and girls in the parish to kind of get behind the hurling. So yeah, there is a great buzz. There's a good buzz on the kind of club Facebook page as well, with all the player profiles. And, there's a bit of fun to it as well. At the end of the day, it is a game. We acknowledge it's a great achievement, and there is great excitement, and we're looking forward to the challenge of mighty Ballinkillen.
Yeah, Joe Nolan is here as well, of course. He's actually over that Ballinkillen junior team. And Joe, I'll get a word with you here in a second. But Ciaran, the first point I'd like to make, obviously the structure of the championship has stood to you this year, because obviously you have a number of footballers down there, and the fact that this is kind of run off first and football later, it means obviously you're in a position like a lot of clubs where you have access to players that maybe you wouldn't have had in previous years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of footballers couldn't commit to 4 or 5 months of football training and hurling training with, just championship matches, challenge matches, and other work commitments and life commitments. So, I mean, the condensed season definitely does suit. And I just don't think it's Burren Rangers. I'm sure it suits every club where you're playing every weekend. It'll only not suit a club who has injuries or a small panel. But we've been lucky that we've been able to get a kind of a nice sized panel, Andrew Tobin and Anthony Curry have, got the lads all on board. And yeah, certainly the condensed season has suited us.
Joe, you're in the final. You've been the foreign team throughout, racking up big scores. And, we obviously want to see Burren Rangers up intermediate, but, obviously Ballinkillen are in the county final, which they want to win too. So I think everyone probably, apart from outside of Burren Rangers, apart from Ballinkillen, will be hoping for a Burren Rangers win, but you guys are flying it as well, and great to be in two county finals.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend, Kevin. It's been a great week so far for lads in the club. We were just there today putting up bunting around the village, and we haven't done that in a long time. At the tail end of a championship, we haven't done it obviously in 16 years with regard to senior, and I suppose we have been in a good few junior finals over the last decade or 2 decades, but I suppose the last one was 4 or 5 years ago. So it's been a while for us. It's wonderful. It's I suppose what the lads mentioned there in relation to what's happening in Ballin and the surrounding parts there. It's a great buzz, and as I say, yourself, that it's when it doesn't visit you every year. It does build up a big bit of excitement, I suppose, in the place. I suppose you mentioned there in relation to junior about being the farm team or whatever else, but sure, look, I mean, that, we won and we got through to the final. Burren Rangers are there as well, and Darren Merv, and it's going to be a massive battle between the two of us. Sure, look, that's what you want. I mean, I suppose I went on record, and I will go on record here as ever to say that the bigger picture stuff here, I'd play to see Burren Rangers coming through, getting to an adult final, to me is the highlight, one of the highlights of the year outside of my own club, probably the highlight of the year outside of any of my own involvement in hurling, in our own hurling club. So yeah, it's great buzz, and it's going to be, it's a great weekend for us, and I suppose the novelty of getting into a senior final after being away for so long from it. It's going to be a great buzz throughout the county in different clubs, and sure, look, that's the beauty of sport, and that's what we want.
It is indeed. James Hickey, you're involved with Carlow the past couple of years, but obviously you've been monitoring things quite closely. And before we get talking about intermediates and senior finals, you obviously joined the sentiment here in saying that it's a novel encounter, this junior hurling final.
Oh yeah, it's a novel encounter. I suppose the dog on the street knows, I suppose, over the last month that Ballinkillen have been the farm team. They've proved that. I suppose Burren Rangers, it's absolutely brilliant what's going on over there. Like, and I was up there last year. The young lad was playing under 12 match, and you know, you could see it. You'd know that there was a lot of work being done, because you know a team starting out and it's kind of petering in and it's petering out, and you might get one good year and 3 bad years. But you see the young lads up there, and seeing them again this year, you know, they're being coached, you know that, you know, and you see Jarlath Bolger in there, Jarlath from Greg Lamana, and, you know, you can see the pedigree there, Joe Walters, you know, you see Anthony Curry over him, you know, you can see it, you just see the little things, and you know how the thing is starting to click, you know, and look, it's brilliant, and look, I suppose, as you said, they're going into the 2 finals that we're talking about here, the junior and the senior on Sunday. Everybody will want Burren Rangers to win the junior. Everyone will want Ballinkillen to win the senior, and the intermediate will take on a life of its own probably. But no, it's brilliant, and credit to Ballinkillen there. Like, you know, kudos to them, and you'd have to tip your hat to them. They're coming there the last couple of years. You can see it. To beat us in the under-21 final last year, you know, and it went right to the wire, and you know, there was a sending off. It was a big moment in the game. They beat us in a minor a couple of years ago, and you can see the progression there. And it kind of takes me back to 2001, I suppose, when we reached our first county final together, Rangers and Ballinkillen. And that time there was 2 good young teams coming, and I've often said it was either us or a kind of them. If they had a kind of stuck at it, they lost the Welshes and that, and you know, the thing had kind of flattened out over the next 5 years. But definitely, there's great work going on in Ballinkillen, but equally there's great work going on across the way there in Burren Rangers, and it's great to see it. You know, it's brilliant for hurling in Carlow, at least.
It is indeed. Damien, you know, James mentioned and the lads mentioned Jarlath Bolger there and stuff, and I would have seen Jarlath a good bit, and obviously through not big and all that also. But you're doing a lot of coaching, and you're involved with Carlow GA. And I know from going back 8 or 9 years ago from doing camps, Damien, the likes of Lachlan McGath and these guys, you know, it's hard to believe these guys are like adult hurlers now. But you're seeing that close up and personal on a regular basis, or have done over the past couple of years. Like, the chaps coming through and the girls coming through in that club are as good as what's out there anywhere.
Yeah, I remember being in IT Carlow there last year for the first round of the minor championship. Carlow played Meath, and Carlow actually had 2 starters from Burren Rangers that day. And I remember someone sitting in the stand beside me and goes, "It's probably the first time ever." Now, I never looked into it, but we had Jake Summers in the goal that day and Larkin Doyle at cornerback, and the 2 of them held their place the whole year. And 2 of them were, Jake was in goal and Larkin again was cornerback for the final when they bet Meath up in Meath, and won the first ever cups from Carlow minors in a long time. So even showing that, you can see that the progression has been made in Burren Rangers. You have the likes of Dylan Townsend in there this year with the Carlow minors, and then you actually go through the cold squads, and you see the amount of numbers. I think there's 7 on Burren Rangers lads in with the Carlow under 14 coach this year, which I think is absolutely massive. There's more Burren Rangers lads than Michael lads, which shows you that the coaching in Burren Rangers has come to a high standard, and it's delighting to see, and hopefully, and you can see all that with the lads on with Burren Rangers juniors.
And a big Michael influence obviously down there. The lads mentioned Joe Waters, and obviously Anthony Curry's involved, and you know them boys fairly well too, and obviously they bring a huge amount to it. Anthony is as passionate as me anywhere. I mean, he'd nearly kill you on the sideline, let alone you know, in terms of the passion he brings, like, and he was a wholehearted player back in his day too.
He was, and if Anthony Curry's involved, I can guarantee you Burren Rangers will play for the 60 minutes, and plus if they have to go to extra time as well, because whatever team Anthony's involved with, they're always fit.
That's right. Ciaran, they all mentioned extra time. You did go to extra time last week in the game against Bagnallstown. Put up 121, I think, in doing so. A humdinger of a game.
Oh yeah, it was an excellent game. In fairness, it was kind of difficult for any side to lose it. I mean, we took a very early lead, but in fairness to Bagnallstown, they were probably winning the game for nearly close on 45 minutes. We came back at the end. Some players showed some great character. You mentioned Jarlath Bolger. I won't say his age, but at 40 plus years of age, playing centre back, hurling for 80 minutes, like, I mean, you'd be embarrassed looking at him, like, you know, certainly feel a bit inadequate on the sideline. But, you know, young Larkin Doyle showed great character there, wing forward, corner forward. We had 3 free takers, few got injured, lads had to step up to draw a level. I just think we took the lead. I got that bit of momentum in the last 5 minutes, which kind of saw us through into extra time. And then once we got in the lead in extra time, you know, we didn't look back. But they showed great character. I mean, a win is a win. But when you win with a bit of character, you know, that's something really that you can build on, you know, going into a final.
Massive momentum and massive confidence booster as well to finally break that duct and get in. Are the shackles off a bit now? You seem like you're enjoying this week, like, you know, and hopefully that's reflected Friday. There won't be a crowd here, obviously. It's behind closed doors. The game is being streamed, and it's a great pity because I could imagine a huge crowd being at that, even for a junior final. You know, it's a bit of a disappointment for all the clubs, really, that we can't get crowds, and it's a kind of an eerie thought to even imagine county finals at any grade with no crowd. But I suppose that's part and parcel of it at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, it is a pity for a first adult county final and not to have everyone there, family, friends, for such an occasion. Like, for we all know growing up what it means to have your family and friends there playing with your teammates. But I suppose under the circumstances, the fact that we're even playing county finals, we'll take that. We'll take it that it's going ahead. You know, win, lose or draw, you're still going out and playing hurling, which is what we all love doing. And, you know, going to the training field now, there's even a bit of a buzz, a bit of crack going on there. So, look, yeah, it's a pity there isn't a crowd there. I feel for the young chaps, you know, that I see. I'm involved with the under-15s myself, and all they're talking about is the county final. And unfortunately, they can't physically be there. But it's been streamed live, so it's the next best thing.
Absolutely. So, in regards to that, James, I was at the intermediate semi-final last week between Leinster Rangers and Naomh, and I was saying on the commentary at the time there was a fair crowd out for the match behind closed doors, but like it's kind of a tricky one in terms of, like, I felt that they were getting everything right with the 200, and I'm a little bit. I understand Nefford are making these calls, and fair play to them, like they're doing it based on better wisdom than any of us have put together. But, like, you just felt that, was it really necessary, James, do you think? Like, and it's tough going, really, like, you know what I mean, to have no bodies at these games at all.
I think it's the clubs that got it wrong, not the county boards. I think any matches I've been at, say championship matches, let it be Carlow, Wicklow, etc., Kilkenny, you go, there's only the 200 people there and everything was fine. But I think that clubs started to lose their way a little, and like at the same time I've been in GA fields, I felt the championship was bang on, smack, county boards were doing everything perfect. And I felt then at club level, it started to slacken off a bit, and I was passing by GA fields, like, and it was like, you know, there was cars, you couldn't get into them. The place was thronged, and, you know, you'd hear it as well around in different places you were going. Like, I was down in the GA field last night and it was thronged, you know, and I think that where you had to have the hand sanitization and everything, I think that people got wind of that and said, look, this thing is starting to get out of control again a bit. And I felt it was the clubs that probably the main reason that stopped, because it definitely had nothing to do. You go to Carlow there and you see any of the matches being streamed when it was only the 200. Everything was sweet. It was fine. There was only the 80 plus supporters, and the rest in was the squads. But look, it is what it is. I think we're blessed to have championships. I'm thinking, like, if the championship hadn't went ahead this year, would Burren Rangers have been in a county final? No. Would Ballinkillen be in a senior final or a junior final? No. Equally, Michelin in intermediate final or Rangers. So look, you take the good with the bad, and whoever wins over the weekend, if the same lads on the call here, if certain amount of them, their clubs are going to end up with county medals on this weekend, or my own club, whichever it is, and, you know, you'll take that, you'll take hand and all, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Get this thing done.
Yeah, absolutely. Damien, kind of a strange weekend for you last weekend. Comfortable win, intermediate semi-final, of course, which, like, the most bizarre situation, just to put out there, the three inter-county goalkeepers for Carlow are three Michelin men playing at senior, intermediate and junior. So young Ciaran Abbey is playing junior hurling, but he's on the county panel. It's the most bizarre situation. I mean, that must be frustrating enough for you to be just playing intermediate hurling when you know you'd walk on to any senior team.
It's frustrating, but it also brings the best out of myself, Ciaran and Brian, knowing the three of us are down there. Every evening before training, the three of us are down there at 6:30 getting our own bit of training done. And then whoever gets the nod for the senior, you know that they definitely deserve it, that the work is done. And you can see in the training that they're doing that they do deserve to be number one. And if anything, that's only good for the club and good for the team they're playing on, because you have the best one in goal. Look, it's frustrating, but it is what it is. It's someday I'm going to have to get Brian off to take an order, and someday Kieran's going to have to get me off to take an order and get Brian off it as well. And the day that happens, it'll be a good day for everybody.
And you're telling us off air, there's another lad going to be in the mix shortly as well.
Yeah, Kyle Foley, he was in goal for the minors there Monday night against Ballinkillen, which was an absolute brilliant game. 320 to 320 it finished, and I think Kyle actually made 5 one-on-one saves and saved the shot just before a penalty as well. So to be honest with you, he's actually the one I'm most worried about.
Yeah, you have great luxuries up there. Yeah, a few of you may start trying to go to the field or whatever, but yeah, look, a comfortable win intermediate semi. It puts you into the final here against Rangers, obviously, which is Saturday evening. The junior final is Friday at 7. Intermediate final 6 o'clock I think Saturday, and then senior final 3 o'clock on Sunday. You know, these finals throughout the years at intermediate level, more often than not, seems to be Michael and Rangers like. So the rivalry certainly hasn't tamed down over the years. It's a fairly intense rivalry, and Michael love to beat the Rangers and Rangers love to beat Michael. Now at senior level, obviously, as we've seen, there's a bit of a difference there, unfortunately, at the moment. It seems there's just a little step there that you need to take still. But this intermediate grade for me, and I mentioned it last week kind of on Twitter and stuff, and I don't know, there's no point in asking you to go back 10 years or whatever, or 12 years, you're only a chap at the time. But when I started off playing intermediate hurling at 16, if you had 2 or 3 decent hurlers, you win most championship games. Because a lot of lads were, all right, they had a bit of experience or whatever, but they hadn't the hurling, really. And I'd even say now that our junior championship is probably better than what the intermediate championship possibly was 12 years ago. The scores that were in that game with Naomh and Rangers were outrageous scores for intermediate level. It's a good level,
It's brilliant. I was actually watching the Naomh and Rangers game, and to see Ben Bolger come in off the bench, I was just looking and saying, how was he not in the starting 15? And then you see another lad, Conor Fenlon, who was on the Rangers teams the whole way up along starting midfielder, and you're just saying, how is he coming off the bench? It just shows the talent that is coming through at intermediate and junior level, that these boys can't start and they're coming off the bench, which makes the intermediate level even a lot more competitive. And the same at ourselves, with bringing the likes of Guy Hogan and George Cavanagh off the bench. Like 2 or 3 years ago, you would have said they're definite starters, and now they're just barely getting onto the team. So look, it's great. It's great for Carlow Hurling, and like intermediate grade is getting stronger, and Michael Rangers are getting going very well, because lads are kind of getting sick of being intermediate hurlers now, and they're trying to make that push to get onto the senior squad. So it makes them train that bit harder as well to say, but put hand up every week to say, I want to be a senior hurler, not an intermediate hurler.
Yeah, and regards that senior semi-final last week, you know, like I was kind of just cognizant not to be too harsh on Michael throughout the podcast series so far, and then there were certain things I was kind of critical of that they address in the 2 victories. But I, you know, just to be brutally honest, without kind of, you know, insulting you or whatever, it just seemed Rangers were at a slightly higher level last week. And like, is that something that it's obviously not easy to take for you, but probably something that you kind of recognise at the moment? You're in transition.
Yeah, we're in transition, I suppose. Like, if you look at last year, we brought up Tyke Daly, Eoin Hosey, and James Smithers straight out of minor, brought them straight up. This year, we brought up Ushi and Kelly and Scott Tracy. Like, and to be honest with you, out of them 5 hurlers, there's 4 of them there still hurling senior now, and probably were our 4 most consistent hurlers this year, which is a good thing for Michael as a club, and maybe it's showing a few people that give the young lads a chance. Like, so, and we took Jack Kavanagh off the intermediates and gave him to the seniors. Like, and Jack's 23, 24 now as well. So we're in a rebuilding stage. But look, if you look at Rangers, Chris Nolan he goes out 1-9 in the end of the day. Like, and every time Chris gets on the ball, there's that little fear factor, because Chris gets the ball, there's only one thing on his head, and that's a goal. And if he doesn't get a goal, he's looking for a point. And at the moment, we're trying to find someone like that. And we had the likes of Cottle Tracy in there who is building that character. So hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years we'll have one like Chris.
Yeah, and like, I mean, Shane Kavanagh's been an incredible servant as well. You know, like, just guys like that are so hard to replace, and it does take time. And I do have to agree with you. I think those chaps have showed great promise this year. I can only stand to you. Maybe in a couple of years' time, who knows? Like, we'll see Michael back at the top again.
Yeah, but look, I have no, to be honest with you, I'm not saying this in an arrogant way, but I have no doubt because we're in that rebuilding stage. We're getting young lads up every year, and to be honest, we actually still have Shane. Shane's still on the senior hurling panel. He didn't feature this year now because he was off all on out doing work, but he came back, and I've no doubt Shane will be back next year. And to even have a lad like Shane around the team is it's unbelievable, and especially to those young lads. Because for years, and myself included, I looked up to Shane Kavanagh and Robbie Foley, and they still be hurling with the likes of Shane and Robbie over the intermediates. It's absolutely massive. It actually makes you want to go out to train. You know, these two have done it at the top, so you want to learn off them.
Yeah. Joe, we've spoken quite regularly over the series, and you were in action obviously in the commentary box last weekend. So, like from Ballinkillen's point of view, like they jumped a massive hurdle, and I would have been critical enough of Ballinkillen for not pushing on, considering the minors and 21s the one, having won the minor championship 11 years ago as well. Now, a positive in that was that a lot of lads were actually still playing, but again, similar enough to Burren Rangers win the junior semi-final. That's a big hurdle Ballinkillen jumped. And are the shackles off now? What's the vibe like down there this week like?
Yeah, well, it's just a good vibe, you know. It's better to be, you know, in the final than be licking our wounds at this stage. You know, a semi-final loss like we were this time last year. You know, wondering about the what ifs and the maybes and so on. As regards the shackles are off, well, sure. Look, I suppose, they are in some way. Like, you know, it's the next step that this bunch of lads have been looking to cross in the last number of years, and they have gotten there now. But I suppose like the vibe down there is good in terms of, like, you know, they're not just going to settle for that. Like, there was the point in, you know, kind of saying, well, we were one better than last year. There was nothing, as we do say, like there was no trophies handed out last year, and like what James said there earlier on. You know, at the end of the day, that's what we're driving for on Sunday. It's not going to be any good just to turn up. Because, you know, if you have that sort of mentality going in, you're never going to be able to raise your game. So our lads are going in. There's an expectation there that, you know, of winning, or, you know, of putting our best foot forward. And I think that was the big thing. I suppose I think that consistency of performance is what we've been looking for, you know, against the bigger teams. You know, I suppose the last year we had a good battle with Leinster Rangers. This year not so good, but, you know, maybe in the group stage. But, you know, you'll have that. But in the last 2 years, maybe against St. Mullins, we've shown we've been their equal. And, you know, to finally beat them is a massive hurdle. And I think getting that level of consistency and putting a couple of back-to-back games is kind of, you know, is a big thing for our lads. And I think they'll take great heart from that going into the match on Sunday, because, you know, that was probably has been our downfall, that kind of fluctuation in form and so on. But look, we'll go in. We'll probably be going in as big underdogs, and, you know, but, you know, like we'll be talking before, like, you know, about it, that you know, strange things happen on finals day, and different lads will react in a different way. And I suppose, like we said, the thing all we can do is we can go out and just empty our tanks, put in the performance we know we're capable of, like probably we produced for some of that semi-final against St. Mullins. And on the day, if that's good enough to beat Mount Leinster Rangers, it's good enough. And if Mount Leinster Rangers are good enough to beat us, well, so be it. That's what, you know, that's all we'll have to take. But I think just getting that consistency in the performance was satisfying. And like I said, we will need a repeat performance of what we produced in the semi-final, and probably something with it for to take down Leinster Rangers, because I think at the minute they look mighty impressive. You know what I mean? They've probably got to the final with a relative canter as such, and so, you know, we'll wait and see. But hopefully we'll empty the tank on Sunday and see what happens.
Yeah, James, they've been so impressive down there. Like, what are they kind of doing different this year so far? Obviously, the hurt of losing the final last year so late has been a motivating factor, but like they're motoring so well down there.
Yeah, I think the lockdown has been the big thing. You know, none of them away with the county team had a huge burden for us this year, and that's the first point. I think that's probably a big 50% of it, and I suppose the other 50% of it, I suppose they're carrying a bit of hurt from last year. Obviously beaten on the day by a better team. Definitely hold our hands up to that one and say the best team won the county final last year. But I think, to be fair to the group, like, we're going into the county final on Sunday, and like, there's nobody underestimating the challenge that's ahead. And as Joe referenced there, county finals have a habit to take on their life of their own. You know, you can win every game up to a county final, but form kind of goes out the window on county final day. You see weird things happening in county finals, but all the boys are doing, look, and it's the same as any other year. You know, they're knuckling down. There hasn't been a word all week, and you know, you can, I suppose, and I referenced it there earlier, everybody on this call, like, you can play mind games all you want. We're going to win. We're going to Carlow Sunday to win a county final, no different than Ballinkillen are going up to win a county final, and Burren Rangers and Michael, etc. And you have to go with that mentality, and you have to try and put everything in place to let you achieve that. I suppose a week in a county final, the week of a county final is a big week, and you know, you can actually lose the county final the week of a county final because, you know, you're hoping it'll come, and you know, everybody's talking about it, and there's a big build up and a big buzz, and the next thing, all of a sudden, bang, it's here, and you go out, and the first ball you go for, you're mentally drained, you know, because of the excitement and everything, and the next thing, the game is gone. It's, for a lot of, especially young players, it's the longest week of their life, and it's the fastest 60 minutes that they'll ever play in, and that's just the way it is. And I suppose we're lucky in a sense. We've been blessed, thank God, you know, over the last while, that, you know, we've experienced that, and you know, you learn to deal with it in the proper manner, you know, and like I remember back when we started out first, we lost 3 in 2 semi-finals before we won in 6, and you know, a lot of them were lost in the build-up to county finals, and you know, oh, we have to do this, we didn't do it last year, and trying different things instead of just, and with experience comes that bit of calmness, and you know, you're just hoping the county final is a month away because you enjoy it for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. But look, this is, to me, this Ballinkillen team is a good Ballinkillen team. You know, you see Naomh full back there, probably at the moment the best full back in the county. You see Ciaran wheeling in the middle of the field. Shawnee, like the wheelings last Sunday evening. We had a confirmation here last Sunday. The young lad made it, and there was, we were keeping the social distancing, but we were here watching it, like, and they hit 120, like, and you know, they hurled mighty, and to be fair, you know, they gave away a couple of puck-outs, went astray on them, gave St. Mullins a couple of quick scores at crucial times, but they had the character there. You could see it in them. They had the character there at big moments in the game to have that calmness for a relatively young team enough, and it was just great to see it. And you know, this whole thing is helping Carlow Hurling too. And I just see Ballinkillen last year in that under-21 final, and this year, and last year in the semi-final, I thought they were excellent, you know, and there was a moment at the end of the game where they got a ball, and there was a man inside, and it was hit straight to the St. Mullins man. He pucks down the field, free. The free is taken back at the net. Game over, extra time, you know, and Ballinkillen I felt all last week, you know, and I work in Keenan's with a lot of the St. Mullins boys, and you know, we were talking about it, and you know, you'd know, and rightly so with Michael as well against Rangers, that you felt there was a threat going to come out of them 2 camps, you know, and because, you know, it was there. Michael the week before against Banglastown had to dig mighty deep to get over the line in the last 5 minutes, showed fierce character as well. So, like, it's been a good championship, like, and I know Rangers have won games at a canter, but you know, Sean Murphy went off the last night, James Doyle got injured, but you look at the championship and all, it's been a great championship. Like, it's been a fantastic championship, and the semi-finals, albeit Michael missed a few frees last weekend, and in the first half it could have been a lot closer. But look, it's, for me, it has the makings of a great final on Sunday.
Absolutely. Well, Ciaran, like, just touching on what James is saying there, I kind of made the point not long ago as well, that even though we haven't had crowds at the games or anything like that, and we have had lockdowns and stuff, the standard across all 3 grades has not deteriorated. It's held its own, if not gone up.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, the intensity is there. Like, players bring intensity to a game. You know, if it's a flat game, you need the crowd maybe to drive it on. But when a game is going and there is that intensity, players don't need anyone shouting on the sideline to get in there, especially close games, which is certainly at juniors what you see. I mean, in terms of the junior championship, you know, it's the most competitive in terms of teams' participation. You know, there's every club was involved in it. And that's great. It's a great platform for us to get introduced to other clubs and hurl other clubs. You know, we play them all at this stage. Every time we play Ballinkillen, it's actually a good game of hurling. You know, it's just pure striking, scoring, hooking, blocking. You know, and that's what we look forward to on Friday, is that same type of battle. You know, it's not a psychological one. It's just, I always say it, like, who wants it more? You get on the pitch, you fight for the ball. If you win the ball, you want it more, you'll get it. You know, the scores obviously have to be more than theirs. That's you know, an obvious one. But it's desire. Who wants it more? And at the end of the day, if Burren Rangers want it more, we'll deliver. And if it's Ballinkillen, so be it.
Yeah, and you obviously have that Kilkenny background as well, along with Jarlath. So that's been a massive help, no doubt, in addition to Anthony's passion, that you come from that background. And there's a great love for hurling down there, which is obviously infectious across the board to the boys. Like, and the fact that, you know, we had this taken away from us, and possibly, God forbid, but we may at some stage won't rule out another lockdown. It could well happen. Hopefully not, but it could. We see what's happening with our neighbours. But that greater appreciation for the game, has that got something to do with the kind of standard as well, in that, Jesus, this was taken away, I'll give this the whole hog while I can, because number one, I might be getting too old, but number two, this has been taken away without me even having the choice, so we better give a socks here, lads.
No, passion is always there in Carlow Hurling. Look, yeah, you're right. I grew up playing in Kilkenny, the Roaring Sea, but I've been in Carlow for 12 years. You know, they love their hurling. You can see it. So yeah, the lockdown just means the condensed season, that, you know, you can get your training right, you get your schedules right, you can get into that, you get lads right. Like, look, you're just focused on the hurling now. But the passion is always there. You know, I grew up in a house where it was just hurling. Came to Carlow, it's just hurling. Like, you know, that's all I do in my spare time. So lockdown, no lockdown, 12 months, 24 months, I'll still be hurling.
And the simple gratification during the lockdown, I found anyhow, was just going out and poking the ball off the wall. Great to clear the head, just a simple thing.
Yeah, kids, it's great. We did it with the kids, the juveniles as well. Some skills challenges, because, you know, they mightn't have been so great doing the online classes, but if you told them to go out and hit a bin or something like that, you know, they found that a bit more better for the stress levels, and it was so important. Like, but that's community. I mean, you saw what the GA did. You know, helping within the community, whether it's getting groceries for elderly neighbours or the vulnerable. You know, that's the essence of the GA. And look, it comes out into a field in the form of hurling, and you see passion, and you can pull across a fella, and, you know, you want to get the ball. And at the end of the day, you know, Joe and me, huge respect between the clubs, Michael, you know, Mount Leinster Rangers, and you could shout at each other on the sideline, but you shake hands, or you exchange elbows, whatever it is now, you know, because there's just huge respect amongst the hurling community, certainly.
Yeah, and it's a funny one, because, like, nobody hates Burren Rangers, and, you know, I know we always wanted to debate Mount Leinster Rangers. We always wanted to debate Bangers and Guzzler beside us. Michael were so hard to debate. Let's come from a neighbourly point of view. I wouldn't say there was as an intense rivalry with Ballinkillen, but Burren Rangers have that kind of uniqueness there, in that there's nobody that really hates you. Maybe Ballinkillen might have something to say about that on Friday. But Joe, look, it's it's a kind of a
it's a funny one, yeah. Look, and over the years you'd hear lads saying, "You're doing a great job in Burren Rangers," and you don't know if it's a compliment or if it's condescending. So at the end of the day, it's about titles, and, you know, I mean, well, it's about titles for a club. It's just reinforcement that what you're doing is right. And there is just huge coaches involved in Burren Rangers, like, you know, not just the blow-ins, but the lads living in Carlow, like, they're from Limerick and Tipperary and Laois and Kilkenny. Huge passion as well. But yeah, we want to win titles. We're no different to Mount Leinster Rangers, Ballinkillen or Michael, and we want them to be given out about us.
Yeah, that's the standard you're setting.
It's about Ciaran as well. Like you mentioned, one with the titles, and I think one big thing is respect as well. You know, to the acknowledgement and respect, like, and getting the finals, and right, whatever happened Friday or whatever, another final that we're in, there can only be one winner, as I say, but doesn't mean that you haven't gained anything in defeat. You know, I mean, I just think, say, just to give you an example, like, I went the length and breadth of the country, you know, over the last couple of years, and you'd be going to different places. And any holiday I'd go on, I'd always try to pick up a hurl wherever I'd be. And I happened to be down in Kerry there during the summer. and I went into Shane Brick down in Kilmiley, and James would know Shane Brick. He would have, from he would have heard, he would have been your vintage. Yeah. And I went in and we were chatting, and I was talking to him about Carlow Hurling and everything else, and we got chatting, and we were talking about the club scene and my own club, and to identify it. And I mentioned then, I was trying to think, could I give him any link to our area where I was located, and I said Andrew Gall, he says the Duke, Shane Brick down in Kerry, and this was and talked so glowingly of this man in terms of respect. You know what I mean? He didn't mention this lad has X many county titles, or this man, he gained respect on the pitch and respect by your actions and how you do things. And I think, I know you have the medals, and maybe all of us, and maybe Damien's a little bit younger, but maybe when you get older, you see that that's a massive part of the GAA. Getting that respect as a hurler, and I'm sure James is through it as well. He James came through from a county point of view, and I suppose as a club, in fairness, James growing up like with Rangers losing those matches, and getting across the finishing line, and also with the county, coming from, I remember James speaking before, starting out, winning the B titles, and getting on to the A grade, and stepping it all the way up and getting that respect. And I think that's a massive thing to get as a club. And I think that's one thing that you have, or Burren Rangers have, I think, from everyone in Carlow. And I don't think that came from you reaching just the junior final this year. It's respect, like what James said there, in terms of how you coach, how you look after players, the quality of the players that you send into a county panel. I always think of bigger picture. I always like to look at bigger picture. Love the rivalry. We'll have great crack on Friday night. We'll have great crack on Sunday with the different clubs. But, the bigger picture stuff then is when that's all done and dusted. We're all Carlow men. We were all in Newbridge, say, when James there. I remember, and it'll stick to me till the day I go under, as I say. I remember being at talking to James in Newbridge after they defeated, when they won the intermediate title a good number of years ago now. And I remember him saying, he said, we wouldn't be here unless the other clubs were driving us on. And I think that's wonderful that we're in it together, and that kind of comes from respect from each other, and, respect in our actions as well. So, as I say, like, look, sure, as I say, come Friday evening, that might go out the window for 60 minutes with me skin and hair, but sure, look, at the end of it, we know where we stand anyway,
Yeah, but that's
here, just dead right, Joe. Yeah, well said, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And then you're a good modern day example of this, because you just love the game. You'll talk hurling all day long. You'll go to a match anywhere in the country, and you just simply live for it, like.
I tell you the truth, things are made easier now. The father have to give me over the car there this evening as well. So things are going to be made a lot easier now, Kevin.
Well done for the day.
Yeah, no, it's great, Damien. I mean, look, Joe hit the nail on the head there. That's what it's all about. And I mentioned there, we used to always want to go and bait the whole lot of us. We never succeeded too often, unfortunately. I'd say he succeeded more than we did, the whole lot of us together. But that's just for the 60 minutes, as Joe was saying. And after that, it's a small community that we're trying to actually, enhance or whatever. And Burren Rangers are doing their thing. And please God, we'll see, someday we'll have 8 to 10 senior clubs, which would be fantastic, whatever. But like, I think the structure, as we mentioned already, this championship is the key thing in making that happen. And with football starting shortly, if they want, they could perhaps flip that next year and have football first and then hurling. Because in my opinion, although it's not ideal for whichever club wins the first championship, because there'd be a long gap to Leinster or whatever, why not have that break for a little while if you can at all possible? Then try to rebuild, get a few challenge games, which maybe, sometimes are difficult to get. But you can probably get back up to speed, I would think. Or is that something you go along with before a Leinster Club Championship, if we do have one, say, next year?
Yeah, look, I think it's dead right. The football, if you play the football for the hurling, I know it'll have 5 weeks before Leinster Club Championship. But like, what else do you want to do? Only be playing the teams that are in county finals and Wicklow and Kildare and Wexford, and getting the best of the practice match rather than playing mediocre games in Carlow and getting the best shot at a Leinster Championship.
Yeah, definitely. So, right, lads, I'm going to, what do you call it? We'll go kind of, we won't say verdicts per se or whatever, but we might talk about key battles and stuff. And Ciaran, no secrets, and Joe, we want everything here. We want full accountability. But I know, look, from the junior point of view, obviously Ciaran, Jarlath's a massive player for you. Joe on the edge of the square would be a big threat at the best of times. And Joe, just from your point of view, then just point us out some of the guys that have been kind of motoring well, because it's tricky for you having lost a couple as a senior. Jack Tracy was going well, and thinking Mark Foley and that was down there. So the best of the rest, as the fella said.
Yeah, well, we just to kind of put in context, we played in the group stages ourselves in Burren Rangers, and we've lost 4, I think, off our starting team from that day. So it's for us, we've lost in the interim, and I suppose Burren Rangers have gained. So that'll be a big kind of swing from the group stages. But yeah, for sure. Look, I won't say I don't like identifying key players. Like everyone is key. You're not going to win anything without. But we have a little bit of experience, I suppose, down the middle, which is important. We say like Micheál Ryan and Lauren Kinsella, who would be big additions to any junior team who would have hurled senior, for a good number of years, and Micheál obviously hurled county at county level as well. So plenty of experience there with the two boys. I suppose we've had great performance, like Pádraig Ryan just going down through the lines again. Pádraig Ryan in the middle of the field, he's hit a lot of frees this year for us. Our half forward line, Mick Butler, great experience, a workhorse. Mark Tracy's hurling well. And our inside line, I suppose, Niall Whelan has been, outstanding for us, really this year. And Ciaran Dowling, I suppose, I'm just picking names off the top of my head. Everyone has performed. Like the last day, we hurled Leinster Rangers down in down in the training centre, and different lads put their hands up. But look, maybe the little bit of experience that the lads bring at the back is key, like we mentioned there. Maybe with Jarlath and Joe Waters, like that little bit of the older head can help to steer the ship, and maybe calm things down on the pitch. It can be a big addition to the teams. But it will be a lot tighter, I think, come Friday evening. Like I said, I think Burren Rangers have gained 2 or 3 players, and they have a big panel. We've been caught like with injuries to my own nephew Billy is out for the game with a hand injury, and we've lost 3 lads then up to the senior panel already. And I suppose we're kind of a little bit tight. Like even though it's been a good year in terms of lads training, from a junior point of view, normally you kind of have your 5 or 6 or 7 lads in our case maybe training, and then the rest kind of turn up for matches. This year, I suppose, given the COVID situation, and I suppose then we maybe have, young lads coming through like Paddy Kavanagh is coming up from, first year adult grade, and Eoin normally in these lads, and they're coming up with the idea of training. Like they're not coming up, been here, done it, kind of get into bad habits. Those are lads with excellent habits, and they're kind of setting the tone as well. So we're lucky that, I suppose, even though our panel is a little bit tight, we think we've 20 on the dot, talking out Friday night. And even though it's kind of tight enough, they're all generally in the pitch most of the time, and that's a good thing, and you can only improve on that. And it makes our job hard come Friday night in terms of picking and selecting lads. But it could come down. It could come down. I know Burren Rangers are not analysing them or anything now, but I know like both free takers are very good on both sides, and I think whoever's, I think that'll be a big message going out on both sides about keeping their discipline. I think Burren Rangers did a good few frees in their semi-final. We didn't hit as many in our semi-final, but we've hit a good few all the way along as well. I think both sides have good free takers that will punish either side if they're in discipline. So, tackling and things like that will be very important. And, but I can't see I don't think there'll be any massive tactical battles in terms of, sweepers or double sweepers or triple or whatever, 4 men and a half hour line sort of thing, unless the lad gets bet and he's looking for a break sort of thing. But I think it'll be more straightforward in terms of that. But yeah, and like I said, it'll just come down, like what Ciaran said, who's that little bit of hunger, and maybe as both teams maybe have been a little bit goal shy maybe in the championship to date, or that they haven't been racking up a huge amount of goals. So I think if anyone is able to get 2 or 3 goals on the board, especially up to 3, I think it could be a big deciding factor in whoever gets their hands on the title on Friday night.
Right, we'll move up a grade. Damien, I'm not going to put you under too much pressure because you're playing in that game on Saturday evening, and I that's not my intention here. It's a bit lighthearted, and we're looking at the bigger picture and seeing what the crack is, as the fella said. But you have been racking up decent scores, a strong side for a second team. What do you have to do right, and what do you kind of have to clamp down on in terms of the Rangers' point of view?
Of course, from the Rangers game, the last day over in Burris on the Sunday there that we played, I think it's our discipline that needs to come up. I think we gave Ciaran Kavanagh the opportunity that day that he hit 6 frees that day, and we got bet by, I know we got bet by 8 that day, but any team that scored 6 frees in the second half it's a massive tally to try get back. And in fairness to Rangers, their backs they're very disciplined, and we actually didn't get the opportunity to even try tally back on free. So discipline is definitely a factor that we're going to have to try clamp down on come Saturday.
Yeah, and Luke Roach was striking the frees so well last week. I never really had Luke down as a kind of a free taker. I had him down as a strong ball winner, centre forward, kind of, which obviously is still like, but kind of like his brother Dennis a bit. But geez, he was striking those frees so well the last day, So as you mentioned, discipline is a big thing.
Yeah, like with Ciaran there taking him on the Sunday we've had him over in Burren, and you have Luke taking him. It's not. There's not many teams out there that have 2 free takers that are as sharp shooters as the 2 boys. So look, it's definitely something that we're going to have to at least talk about anyway, and try hopefully work out a plan and try not foul as much as we did at that evening over in St. Mullins or over in Rangers.
Yeah, and strengths then from your own point of view. Obviously, you're a massive puck out.
Well, I don't know about that, but I suppose the last day against St. Mullins, the inside 3 boys in the full forward line scored 3-10 from play. It's always a massive thing when you're giving the full forward line the right ball, and it looks things we were giving the right ball, and they were doing the damage with him. So we hope for the 3 lads inside to do another big job.
James, going back a few years ago, I would have said that, and we'll never see this obviously, but he had a second team that would have done very well if it got to a senior semi-final. And you have that knack that's, I don't know how, like obviously it comes from you boys winning club championships and getting taller in the finals, and the young lads looking up at that. But it also comes down to great coaching, I suppose. But the second team is one of the strongest second teams in the country.
Yeah, I suppose and you go back there to the Burren Rangers thing. I remember in 6 when we won our first one, and after the match, I remember we went to the schools that week, and like near a young lad had a Rangers jersey, none. There was Kilkenny jerseys, there was Wexford jerseys, there was every sort of jersey, but there was no Rangers jersey. And I remember the next year we won 7. We won back to back our first 2, 6 and 7. I remember going to the school in 7, every young man had a Rangers jersey. And it's kind of like that Burren Rangers thing. You get a victory and, things start taking off. And like that's 15 years ago now. And it's been nearly 15 years in the making. Well, we'll say maybe 8, 9, 10. And there's good minor teams after coming through, and you see it. Michael in the past there, a team that won 6 in a row, etc. And super minor teams. As I often said, I remember in '97 playing Michael in the minor final. They played the under-21 final after it. They played it in the junior, intermediate and senior final in the same year. Like remarkable stuff, like to have 18 to 21 years. And it'll just tell you when a thing does go, how well it can go. But yeah, look, back to your point. Yeah, 2013 we had a strong old bench. Look, there's a lot of that gone now, and it's kind of some of the lads that were subs in 2006, they're key men now for us, and the younger lads now that have come through. And I think this year we've blooded more talent. I think more so than any year in the last probably 14 years. We've brought through lads from junior to intermediate and intermediate to senior. We freshened the thing up a bit. And again, COVID had a lot to do with that, because you were hurling. You take the likes of Ciaran Kavanagh, he made his senior debut this year. Ciaran was consistently hurling. You go over to the field, and when there's hurling training every second night, and so Ciaran has the hurling in his hand 48 hours. When you have football and county training going on like that, then and certain lads missing and maybe only 5 or 6 hurling, you don't get that same momentum. And I think that has been amazing for our championship this year, and every championship around Ireland, I'd say, is the same. But look, I think, to be fair, last Saturday night, believe it or not, we went up more in hope than expecting victory against Naomh Breed, to be fair. Naomh Breed had beaten us in the league section. They had got Sean Watchorn back, they had got Mark Brennan back. The 2 Coughlin brothers, one of them, I'd say, played against us the first night. So, like, to be fair, I said to my father last week, I said, how do you think we'll go on the 3 semi-finals? He said, sure, we'll be up against it. He said, we were only talking about the junior first Friday night, and he says, we'll be up against it in that Ballinkillen have a good team. And he says, Saturday night, like, he said, Naomh Breed's first team, he said, they're hurling fierce wild this year. And, like, to be fair, I'd say the pitch suited, Bagnallstown suited. You know, it was nice and tight, and the knacking breed forwards probably didn't get the space that they were getting in bigger venues. But look, the boys gave a good account of themselves. Look, Willie, John Cody, as Damien mentioned, Ben Bolger for me is an awesome hurler. Conor Finlan came on. Luke Roach was striking the fees. But I think overall it's a well-balanced team. It's like the Michael Intermediate team. That's a well-balanced team. And it's like Damien said, they're actually, bar Willie and a few of the older heads, not too many. It's a very young team. And it's like Damien said about Michael's senior team this year. You can see, like, they've gone with you. And that's the way to go. Eventually, you have to go that way. And you have to give you its chance. And you can see it with that Michael Intermediate team as well. It's a good young team. And, like, look, that's going to be a massive battle for us Saturday night. But one, the boys will relish. And the intermediate finals over the last few years with Michael have been absolute crackers. Like, there've been more draws and replays, but they've been crackers. And sure, what more could you want?
Exactly. What more could you want, indeed? You mentioned your old boy there. You could have had myself and Shea Hayes over a job last week there. He was he was very vocal. But come here.
Actually, he's nuts.
Yeah. Eddie Cody was Eddie was fairly animated on the line last week, I have to say. I obviously know Eddie fairly well, like, and one of our greatest ever servants, but he was fair wound up. Like, Eoin was taking the first free, Eoin Holland, he was roaring in at him, and a ball come over, and there was a little bit of an altercation between the two, and he went out over the sideline via David Hickey, not with a box now, but he just put him out over the line, like, as a referee. But I was saying, this lad is quite intense and fired up on the line. I can only imagine what he was like in a dressing room.
Yeah, Edward's goals. Yeah, he's fired up. And I suppose, look, when you step out of the arena that you were so used to crossing that white line every day, playing, and you do retire, the first couple of years are awful. Like, they're awful, and you feel like it's, any of the boys will tell you, it's like a death in the family. Like, you've been gone from soldiering with the same lads for 15, 20 years, with some lads even longer because you went to school with them and they're your same age. And I found myself, anyway, it was better just to go away for a couple of years, you know, and take a deep breath, because you go to matches and sure, you're as wound up as you're more wound up than you are when you were playing.
Yeah. So look, obviously he's a man who's bringing a deal of passion to it as well. What's the winning and losing of this intermediate final, you think, James? I won't put them under pressure now, but from your point of view, looking in there from what you've seen and heard so far.
Well, look, to be fair to Damo, and look, I know Damo a good while now, and he's always been a gentleman. But, like, we were speaking about before we come on there, like Damo's puckouts are a big factor. They're a huge factor. As I said there, when you're landing balls in on a full forward line, and your fullback or your halfback line have to sit a bit deeper than they normally would, it creates space then for two midfielders coming onto it. Or if you had your team set up right, your wing forwards can wrap around, and you don't even need your full forward line winning them, just breaking them back out or whatever, and you'd nearly be pinned, with a puck out. That's definitely going to be a huge factor. Without, there's no reason for that. I think the backs, both sets of backs, I think you see Luke Roach, his freeze there the other night in Bagnallstown. Both backs will need to be very disciplined, and I think it'll be somewhat same in the senior Sunday, and even the boys alluded to it in the junior. Like, if you're giving away a freeze, you're going to find it hard to win a county final. So I think and if you look again over the last few years, the Rangers intermediate finals, there hasn't been much fouling in them. They've been very disciplined games, and they've nearly come down to a score right at the end of the game. So look, this is going to be, like, there's 3 cracking finals in store this weekend, but I think that intermediate final with Michael and Rangers, like, you could sit here and talk on it, but they just take on a life of their own.
Yeah. So let's move on to the senior one then, and we're all kind of, I won't say somewhat neutral, because we have a Rangers and Ballinkillen man, but we don't have that direct attachment as such, because Joe, obviously, I know you're not a selector with the boys. James, you're not involved from a management point of view, and Ciaran and Damien obviously love their hurling, so we're in a good position to talk about this senior final and maybe some matchups and things like that. Joe, you're not going to tell us the answer to this, but how are the boys injuries wise? I'm sure they'll be out there hell or high water. Sean Murphy did fair damage for a lad that was kind of operating on one leg last week.
Yeah. Sure. Look, I think every lad, I suppose, is carrying a knock, and it was a couple of lads carrying knocks knocks and bits and bobs. But sure, look, I think you know yourself and James will tell you, anyone will tell you, you're in finals week and you're in a couple of days before the final. You'll do anything to get right. I think that's one big thing, I suppose, that might be going in Rangers' favour this year. Like, I mean, they've had no injury, I think, of any description to any key player, you know, and that's a massive thing, you know. Like, say, Mullins lost a couple, and Maishad lads bits and pieces, and you know, we're the same. We have a few lads kind of playing with little knocks here and there, but I think they'll all be okay for Sunday, like, you know, and they'll do anything they can to get in order. So yeah, look, we should have hopefully a team bill of health. I think there's a couple of big things on Sunday. Like I said, I think our lads will we'll have to give a performance equal to or better than probably what we gave against St. Mullins. And like I think, you know, I think what happened in St. Mullins, our big players at big games. I always say that, and that's again I never belittle any lad in the pitch, but you know, sometimes in some teams you need lads to kind of step it up, and they're the kind of the leaders and the lads that lads look to. And you know, a lot of our key men had big games. You know, Shawnee had 4 points from wing back, and Ciaran I thought was magnificent midfield. Dion has just been amazing all year. You know, going down like lads with a bit of experience, like, you know, David English was solid. You know, up front Murphy you mentioned, but all the other lads work with them, and when you have those lads performing, it certainly raises the other lads' spirit and it drives it forward. I think, like I said, it's going to be a hard one for us. I actually think, and I kind of went on record saying, I would actually think probably Rangers are at a level akin to what as good as I've ever seen them hurling. I think technically, I mean, like, lads talk about heart and passion, and which is fine, and you need that, and that comes into it, like, you know, but technically they're so good. Their stick work, and we talked about it, Kevin, is amazing. If you look at some of the passes of play that they've produced in the championship this year, you know, there's no sloppy hand pass. There's no taking 4 attempts to pick a ball. And lads kind of, if you're technically so good, and we talked about Chris Nolan hitting the scores. You look at him last week, he hit a couple of scores into the breeze, like off his left side from 60, 70 yards. You know, so it's going to be, that's going to be a factor. They're playing so slick. I think if we're to win, you know, I think we'll be looking to, you know, maybe neutralise their half back line as best we can. I think stopping their quick book outs. I think Dean Grennan has been excellent with his restarts this year. You know, his ability to pick out a pass, either a long or a short one, you know, and that means that your retention rate of ball is very high. I think that half back line is key. I think Burren has been exceptional this year. We mentioned about discipline in finals as well. And if you look at it, I don't think they might have maybe picked up a handful of cards, but very few this year. They've given away very few frees, and they've certainly coughed. I know they've coughed up a couple of goals, but very few. And you know, it looks like their team play and the way they're setting up, like that's a priority, not to concede. And you can see it in the Michael semi-final where Dermot drifted back and literally sat on the D, and like, you know, you're always 2v1 back in there. The beauty of that is, I suppose, their work rate out the field as well. Like, you have Paul Cody dropping back, you have Kevin McDonald, John Nolan, these lads working so hard. What that'll do for us probably will mean that the middle will be very crowded, and I suppose in there we have, you know, Ciaran, who's one of our key men. So it'll be how our game plan adapts to get the likes of him on the ball, because he's key to setting up our forward play. I think from our point of view, like I said, getting our shooters on the ball, I thought that was a big thing against St. Mullins. I thought our long range point taking was excellent. You know, while we didn't create, I know we got a penalty, but we didn't create that many goal chances. But if you're able to pop over, you know, long range points, and I think that was I think maybe where Michael didn't, you know, they hit a lot of wides, they got on a lot of ball, but they hit a lot of wides in that semi-final, and it probably took the momentum from them. Whereas in our semi-final against St. Mullins, our good shooters, like Craig got a few points, Shawnee got the long range ones, Ciaran, you know, we got our shooters on the ball and we popped it over the bar. And I think for us to win, we need that to go, you know, we need that game plan to work. Just the last thing I'd say is, like we mentioned big players. I think Chris Nolan will have a huge impact in this game. He at centre forward, I think, like, how do you play him? If you say to your centre back, you go outright, you man mark Chris Nolan. Chris Nolan drifts off out to midfield looking for a ball. Your centre back follows him. There's a massive hole in behind. The thing about Chris Nolan, he's not a conventional centre forward. He's not a lad you can say, well, right, he's there to break the ball or he's there to throw it around. He gets on that ball. If he gets 5 yards of space and he gets a hand pass off a midfielder from 70, 80 yards, that ball is over the bar. You know, and he's after proving that. He got 1-7, I think, from play, or 1-6 the last day from play, 6 or 7 points the day before, all from centre forward, you know. So he'll have a massive bearing on the game. But look, all I can say is, coming from a Ballinkillen point of view, is that, you know, we're there to compete. We're not sitting on our laurels. You know, the lads were very focused after the semi-final last week. There was there was a little bit of hooping and shouting on the pitch. That was probably coming from me and John Whelan. But apart from that, you know, the lads were very focused on that, right, you know, this is where we should be. We shouldn't be just saying, well, you know, isn't it great we're in the final? Like, we should be aiming to be there every year or year on year. This is what we should be aiming for. And I think they'll be very focused. And like I said, what we're really hoping for is a big performance. And if we put out a big performance and we are beaten on the day by a better team, well, that's sport. You can't do anything about it. But I think just performing is going to be our key thing on Sunday.
Yeah. Damo, you kind of had that element of what Joe was talking about last week, in that we've seen it throughout the championship where Burren obviously has been sitting in front of the full back line. And Michael were kind of, obviously at a stage as John Michael was in there and you're trying to play it long. But Dermot is such a good reader. Like, he was cutting out the option. And obviously Sean Murphy's probably going to be in there on Sunday. And that option will be there. Rangers are obviously going to recognise that fact. They'll be trying to cut that out. So on one side, you know, you kind of have Sean in there. You know how much of a threat he is, but you'll know that Rangers have that body back. And then, as Joe said as well, the long range shooting was so good last week from Shawnee Whelan in particular, and obviously Ciaran tapped over. Kieran's been brilliant this year in general. But what do Ballinkillen kind of need to do? You played, or you were there last week, obviously. You've seen it up close and personal. What do Ballinkillen have to do to try and beat Rangers in this game?
Yeah, I suppose, as you said, Johnny with the four long range points. Like, again, if something like that happens again with Johnny and Ciaran putting over the scores, it's only going to leave Darragh Burren one choice, and that's just push up on his marker. And if that happens, then it's going to leave lots of space inside for like Sean Murphy and Marty and Owen Roberts and Darren, whoever may be in there on the day. And if Ballinkillen can do that, I tell you, it'll be very close come the end of it.
Yeah, Ciaran, like, would it be fair to make an assumption that in order for Ballinkillen to win this game, they have to be at 100% and Rangers have to be a fraction off?
Yeah, but see, finals can take a life of their own. So, I mean, you know, you can psychoanalyze it as many ways as you want. You know, Mount Leinster Rangers have been winning games, you know, I'd say very nicely. Psychologically, the week of final, does that get into their head? Sure, we're winning games here. Ballinkillen psychologically getting over St. Mullins. You know, St. Mullins, we all know the run they had in the club championship last year in Leinster. So, I mean, it's funny what can happen. Confidence, you know, the hop of a ball, you know, a full back dropping a ball, or, you know, anything at all in a game. And it can change. To see the net rattle, psychologically, what's that do to a goalie? You know, you always say about a team, don't worry about the opposition, you hurl your game. And I don't think anyone in Ballinkillen or Mount Leinster Rangers are trying to think what the opposition are going to do. I mean, you shouldn't worry about Chris Nolan. Like, you know, if Ballinkillen hurl their game, you know, Chris Nolan has to worry about them. So if you're just being kind of clinical or level-headed about it, yeah, you would say Ballinkillen have to hurl at 110% and maybe MLR have to come down a notch. But they have a final, it's, you know, it's 50-50, I always say.
James, you're stretching there. I think you could be warming up to go into the fray either Saturday or Sunday. I think, but
we'll
come
see.
Here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like I'd say you're lean enough to participate anyway. You like your running and stuff. You're keeping in shape. But back to the final. I asked Ciaran that question. I just don't think a Rangers at 100% and a Ballinkillen 100% ends in a victory for Ballinkillen. Does that put you in an awkward spot to even ask you that question?
No, I think, listen, we can be around the bush and we can hold our jokers close to our chest. But, like, as I said earlier, everybody is going up. There's 6 teams going to play in county finals this weekend, and I think we'd be stupid and naive to think that any of them might be going up and thinking that they're going to get bet, or what's the point in going then? Ballinkillen will be over there this week and they'll be bouncing after winning Sunday evening with a good victory, and like they've been coming all year. You can see that. I watched them playing St. Mullins in the earlier rounds here one night. Myself and the kids and the wife actually was sitting down watching it, and, you know, 3-14 to 14 points and hurl well. I thought when Sean Murphy went off against the Rangers then in the following game, the momentum was lost a little. And look, last Sunday night, I thought, and I've been saying this all year long, their short game is brilliant. Like those little 15-yard passes into pockets, and they always have the lad moving. Like you see it, David English pinging 15-yard passes, even Dion Watt. Like you'll very rarely see Ballinkillen give a real stupid ball. When they get to where they need to get to deliver it into the full forward line, they do it, and they do that right. They play a 4.5 forward line, they play 2 inside. Look, it's no secret. But it's like you were saying with Dermot there, dropping into the pocket, you know, and I'd always be thinking those things, you know, like Ciaran Whelan is having a marvellous year, like, and Shawnee, the Whelans in general, like, and young Niall's working with us there and work, and, you know, even with the juniors there at full forward, they're a mad hurling family, but like, it's back to what Joe said last Sunday evening. Every man done his own job, and they done it well. With us, we've been going through this championship, I suppose, taking it one game at a time. And I suppose, like, there's no cockiness, there's no arrogance down here, there's nothing. It's one game at a time. And the county final Sunday will be only another game for us. And treating it any differently, it's like Ciaran says, you have to go out and every man has to play there, play his own patch. Yes, Dermot Burren has been a revelation at centre back. Yes, Chris, they're playing him full forward, centre forward. He's moving around. He's having a good year. He's hurling absolutely brilliant for us. I suppose on paper we probably have maybe a better bench than Ballinkillen, but with the junior final Friday night, and you see the likes of Dewey Ryan has been there, done it with Carlow, like, they have options, and I'm sure they're glad that the junior final is Friday night, because no doubt there'll be some of these lads being pushed into the frame on Sunday. We have lads coming up. We probably have a strong bench this year. Lads have had that year behind them now, younger lads. The Dean Tobin is there. You know, Ciaran Kavanagh has come up. And we probably have options on the bench, and we probably have versatile players on the field. But it's back to like I said earlier, you can win, and Ciaran touched on it as well, you can win all the games you want, do whatever you want. But county finals, they take on a life of their own, and it's the lad you don't normally expect, that he's the lad that's going to stand up. And like, you even see Marty Doughton, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Marty Doughton bagged one Sunday. He's been playing well. Somebody referenced about Dean Tobin there. Frank has done a lot of work with Dean, and he's been a big factor for us this year with the work Frank has been doing with him. His puckouts are smart, they're spot on. But look, it's again, you could go right through the team, you could go right through the Ballinkillen team. Sean Murphy, a huge player, having a fantastic year. Unfortunate that he is carrying that bit of an injury, we know that, but there's nothing like a county final to get the adrenaline going, and you know, the injury then is not as bad. It's just the way of life, and you all know that from playing the game, that when adrenaline kicks in, it's like a drug. And you know, you might be able to walk Sunday morning, and come dinner time now it's not feeling bad. And you know, and like, the big thing for Carlow Hurling Sunday is that Ballinkillen, please God, will get to play their full team. Rangers will get to play their full team, and the same for the other 4 teams. And that they'll all go at it, and everybody can say after the match, look, there were great games, and whoever wins them wins them. We hope we win it. Joe hopes Ballinkillen wins it. Your own club, you die for it, you love it, and of course you want to see your own club winning. And look, people say to us down here, like, you know, your supporters can get a bit carried away, and people can get a bit carried away and saying it's this or it's that. It's another game, and that game has to be played in. No games are won on paper or in sitting rooms or in pubs having a beer. They're won on the field to play over 60, 65 minutes on county final day, and at the end of that, that's all that matters.
Absolutely. So, verdict time, gents. Naomh, I'll start with you. This senior final, who wins it and why?
To me, having watched, sat in the stand, watching our seniors hurl the 2 teams, for me, I'm going to have to go Rangers. And the reason I am going to go Rangers is because of, I know one man doesn't win a county final, but Eddie Byrne is the reason I think that this county final is going to go to the wire. He's probably playing in the best hurling he's played, I'd say, in the last 3 or 4 years. I think since lockdown, he's come into a world of his own, and he's orchestrating the Rangers forwards. And you should have heard him there the other night. Like, no matter if one of the Rangers forward made a mistake, Eddie Byrne didn't care about it. He just picked him up in the back, patted him on the back, and said, "Right, we'll go again." And it was as hurtful as it was on the pitch, it was with the Carlow Hurling hat on. It was a joy to hear, because like it's a lad like that you need, and especially for the likes of Dean and Ciaran, if they do see action, and even for Chris, like it's hard to believe, but Chris is only 22 years of age as well at the end of the day, like, and all the Hurley has done. But I think Eddie Burren now is going to be a big factor in this, and it'll be interesting to watch him and Dion Wall go at it for 60 minutes.
Yeah, it will indeed. Dion loves the physical stuff as well. So that's going to be a tasty battle. Ciaran, your verdict?
Yeah, I suppose, look, I'd go with MLR. I mean, three things: the hurt of last year, the skill and the experience. Look, I think it should be enough. I'm not saying it's going to be a 4 or 5 point victory. It'll go down to the wire. But those three things combined for me, I don't like to pick individuals, because James said it on the day. It could be anybody that could get a block or a hook or a point or a goal. But those three things: the hurt of last year, the skill and the experience.
James?
Yeah, sure. Look, I'm going to be straight. I think if we hold our potential, and you know, there's hurt there. There's hurt there probably even from the last few years. You know, I know we've won 2 out of the last 6, but I think that there's just hurt there. And last year, I think that the players felt that they left themselves down a little, and you know, they've been great ambassadors for the club. They've carried themselves well. I feel the lockdown has suited us, and I expect, and genuinely I do expect, a huge battle. Like, and bookies are you know, the bookies are very seldom wrong. Like, the bookies are given 3 points range or victory, like, on even money, like, you know, and that'll tell you, you know, and it's not any Joe Soap that's picking that. They're intelligent people, and I'd be of that opinion as well. I'd be thinking, if we go with Dr. Cullen with a whisker Sunday, I'll be delighted. But I go with us by a whisker.
Good stuff. Right, Joe, can Ballinkillen win their first title since 2001? It is, of course, their first appearance since 2004 as well.
Oh yeah, so it's great to be going into the junior and the senior as underdogs now. Jesus.
Your favourites for the junior.
Tell you, that's it. The underdogs for everything there. Sure. Look, of course I'm going to have to plump for my lads. Like, you know, look, it's a big ask. Look, that's it. But sure, look, if you had said, you know, if you were an outsider looking in, and I would be talking to a lot of lads who spent a lot of time in Offaly, and they said, Jesus, like, you know, you beat St. Mullins, like, you know, and they were, you know, in the Leinster final last year and gave a good account of themselves, and, you know, and to see the standard of Carlow Hurling, like, be it with them last year or with Rangers the years that they've done so well in the senior club championship, intermediate, and so on. So, you know, outsiders give us a chance. So why wouldn't we be giving ourselves a chance, like, you know, based on their performances? You know, of course we have a good chance. Look, we do need things to go right. You know, I think we do need things to go right. We need things to click, and, you know, our game plan has to go right. But I think the lads are. I think, you know, it's a big step. But I think, would you believe it? I think in some ways, not having the crowd there on Sunday, sometimes it can lift an underdog in terms of, you know, to get a score and there's a big crowd, you know, lift behind them. And then sometimes you might say, maybe Sunday there, you know, it'll take, they're not sitting in a dressing room too long thinking about the game. They're outside and they're poking, they're coming tugged out. You know, that might take some of that kind of edginess, or, you know, out of their game, you know, and, you know, I might kind of maybe even it up a little bit, because I know, obviously, look, Nolan Strange has great experience in terms of playing in finals, and I think that might kind of balance things a little bit out for us. But of course we have a massive chance, and obviously I have to plump for my own, as I say, but look, we know we'll have to produce a big game, and I think the lads know that, and I think you'll see a ding-dong battle one way. You know, I think it'll be a cracker on Sunday, and like we said, there's so many lads after putting their hand up there, and we mentioned the bigger picture as always, as we do, in terms of the championship and both teams and so on. And, you know, I think looking forward, I hope this championship, and I know you were discussing it earlier, I hope one thing that comes out of this championship is that lads see the quality of hurling that we have in the county, and that they push on for the Joe McDonough, which will hopefully be played with our county hat on. And the amount of new hurlers that have surfaced over the championship, you know, lads who we wouldn't have thought about maybe at the start of the year, who I think will push on Carlow if they wanted to win that Joe McDonough as well. So that's a bigger picture view. But look, obviously, Sunday, I'm hoping that, as I say, we have 2 cups in Ballinkillen on Monday morning to show off to the kids in school. But sure, look, we'll see what happens.
Right, well, look, I wish all you the very best luck with the respective clubs. Damo, you're obviously playing the game on Saturday, so great for Michael to grant us access without media coaches ratting to players. This is great. Hopefully we get this the whole time now with county setups and all. But thanks for coming on so close to the final, Damo, and to the rest of you guys. Thanks for the last hour and a half. We could probably talk for another hour and a half about it, but no doubt we'll have 3 excellent finals the weekend. And thanks for joining us this evening. All right, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Cheers, Kevin.
Thank you.